I was the runner for a bakery, starting at 4:30 a.m. to haul trays and restock cafes. And my plan on that shift was to do 2 deliveries, cut through the train station for coffee, then meet my coworker at the loading bay before the city woke up. I had flour on my sleeves, a busted dolly, and 2 insulated crates that smelled like warm bread and metal. That job turns your brain into a stopwatch. If you're 5 minutes late, some cafe manager acts like you ruined their life, and the bakery blames you for every soggy croissant like you personally called in the rain. The station at that hour isn't quiet, it's just thin. A few commuters, janitors dragging bags, people sleeping upright with their heads against the tile. The air tastes like piss, fryer grease, and cold concrete. I always use the same service door because it saved me a loop and because the cameras covered the main entrance better than the back. I noticed a guy on the platform because he didn't look like a commuter. Novak, no phone, just standing where the cameras didn't quite hit, eyes locked on the service door I always used. He wasn't looking around. He wasn't waiting for a train. He watched that door like it owed him something. I did that stupid thing where I checked my reflection, smoothed my jacket, try to make myself smaller, like that changes anything. When my train came, he got on the same car, didn't sit, didn't swipe music, didn't blink much. He stood with his hands loose at his sides, ready. The window reflection kept catching his eyes, sliding to me, then back to the doors. I shifted my crate between us and tried to look bored. My heart wasn't bored. My heart was punching my ribs like it wanted out. I picked a spot right under a route map and a camera dome, like those plastic bubbles have ever saved anybody. I moved cars at the next stop. He moved too. Not delayed, not confused, just straight after me like it was rehearsed. I waited until the last second and slipped through the doors as they chimed, thinking maybe he'd miss it. He made it anyway, calm as a priest. That's when the anger hit, because part of me still wanted to pretend I was imagining it. I got off 1 stop early and tried to blend into the flow. He got off with me. I got off early and took the back corridor that smells like piss and old fries. It's the service hallway behind closed kiosks, tiles cracked, lights flickering. My footsteps sounded too loud. I heard his shoes behind mine, slow and measured, like he didn't need to hurry because he already had the advantage. I passed one maintenance guy pushing a cart, and I almost said something, but my mouth wouldn't open. I should have turned around and walked into the main concourse with people and bright cameras. Instead, I did the dumb, polite thing where you try not to overreact. I ducked into a maintenance stairwell because I thought I could lose him. Stupid. It was quiet in there, like the building held its breath. The door shut heavy and the latch clicked, and suddenly it wasn't a public place anymore. It was just concrete and echoes. I took the stairs 2 at a time, crate strap cutting into my palm. I heard the stairwell door open behind me. No ruse. Then it closed again. That sound made my stomach drop worse than footsteps. He wasn't chasing. He was following, like he knew I couldn't do anything about it without making noise and looking crazy. He grabbed the strap of my delivery crate and yanked me back. The pull snapped my shoulder and dragged me off balance. His hand was rough, stained like grease, and he leaned close enough I caught his mouth sour, chemical. I didn't hear a threat. I didn't hear a joke. Just his breathing right there like he was deciding what part of me to take first. I slammed my elbow into his ribs, dropped the crate, and ran up the stairs 2 at a time. The crate hit the concrete hard behind me, and the lids clapped open, and I heard trays slide and smash the floor like wet cards. He grunted and came after me. Fast now. Heavy steps. The kind of steps that say he's done pretending. My knee blew out on a landing, and I still kept moving because pain is nothing when you're about to be owned. My foot caught wrong, my joint popped, and for a second my leg didn't feel like it belonged to me. I grabbed the rail and hauled myself up anyway, teeth clenched so hard my jaw ached. I heard him close behind me, and I didn't scream because my brain couldn't find the part that believes anybody would come. I hit an exit door, and it didn't open at first. Locked. I slammed it with my shoulder, and it rattled. I got this flash of my own stupidity, cornering myself, limping, with no weapon except panic. Then my hand found a crash bar and it gave. Cold air hit my face and I stumbled out like I'd been kicked into daylight. I burst into the street and waved down a cab like a maniac. Cars kept passing. One honked like I was the asshole. A yellow cab finally rolled up and the driver cracked the window like I might rob him. I didn't have a story ready. I just looked at him, shaking, and pointed back toward the station. He saw my face and the blood on my shin and unlocked the door. I got in and said, "Go," and my voice sounded wrong like somebody else's. In the mirror, I saw the stairwell door open. The guy stepped out and scanned, slow like he had time. He didn't sprint after the cab. He didn't need to. He just watched it leave. The driver asked where, and I said, "Anywhere, just go," and he finally hit the gas. He asked if I wanted police. I said yes. Then my brain did its stupid checklist thing, and I told him to take me to work first. I hate that I did that, but it's true. I walked into that loading bay with a blown knee and no crate because I couldn't stand the thought of also losing the shift. My co-workers started in immediately because the cafes were waiting and my deliveries were missing. He accused me of stopping for coffee, of screwing around, of being lazy as fuck. I told him a guy tried to grab me in the station stairwell. He rolled his eyes like I'd blamed a ghost. That pissed me off so hard I started shaking again. The boss came out because of the yelling. He didn't ask if I was okay. He asked where the pastries were. He said I'd pay for the loss. He said I should go back and retrieve the product. Like I dropped a wrench, not my own safety. I told him to go down there himself, right now, and see how it felt when somebody's hand closes on your strap and your throat goes dry. He called me dramatic. I called him a cheap asshole. Another driver told us to shut the fuck up before the first cafe rep showed up and started filming. I limped out and filed a report because if I stayed, I was going to break something on purpose. Later, when I filed a report, I described his jacket and the cop's eyebrows lifted in this tiny, annoyed way. The place smelled like burnt coffee and old sweat. He asked if the guy actually did anything or if I was just spooked. I told him he grabbed me and I hit him and I ran. He kept typing like it didn't matter which words I used. He showed me a photo lineup and I picked the guy in 5 seconds. The cop told me that wasn't his name, that he helped out around the station, that he was known, that these things were hard to prove. He said the cameras in that corridor were unreliable. He told me to take a different route. I asked if they were going to talk to him. He said they'd keep an eye out. That was the whole plan. I asked if I could get the footage for my job, for insurance, for anything. He said that takes time, and his tone made it clear it would take forever. For 2 weeks, I paid for rides because I couldn't make myself go back through that corridor. My paycheck bled. My knee stayed swollen. My coworker half apologized and still called it a misunderstanding. My boss acted like I owed him for not firing me. Every hallway started feeling like that stairwell. Every footstep behind me made my stomach go cold. 2 weeks after that, I saw the same jacket again, hanging on a hook behind the station's lost and found counter, like it belonged there. Like he belonged there. I only saw it because I got forced onto a route that cut through the station and I couldn't avoid looking. Same frayed cuff, same patch, same cheap dark fabric that had been inches from my face. I stood there staring too long and the lost and found clerk snapped at me to move. I asked quiet if that jacket was staff. His eyes flicked sideways, like he was checking who was listening. Then he said, yeah, like I was stupid for asking. I asked whose, and he told me. He didn't have to tell me shit. I walked out shaking, and it wasn't just fear anymore. It was this heavier disgust because the whole thing suddenly made sense. The cop's tone, the known, the camera dead spot, the way the guy didn't chase the cab like he'd done this before and didn't need to rush. And I understood the real trick. You can outrun a predator once, but you can't outrun a place that keeps him. I was apprenticing for a locksmith shop, trying to keep my hours up so I could test out, and my plan that morning was to cut a batch of spares for an apartment complex, drop them with the property manager, and head back before lunch rush. I've been at the bench since open, brass dust on my wrists, key machine whining like a dentist drill. My boss kept pacing behind me, talking about numbers, telling me to stop babying cuts and just move. I needed those hours logged, so I kept my head down, wrote clean entries, and tried not to argue with anyone who could screw my apprenticeship. The manager, Gary, was everyone's favorite helpful guy. He fixed tenants' sinks, carried groceries, told people not to worry about maintenance stuff. He met me at the counter with that easy smile people trust for no reason. He handed me a list of unit numbers that wasn't on official letterhead, just scribbled notes. I hesitated and said we usually need it on their form or at least an email from ownership. He leaned in and told me not to make it complicated. The printer was down, owners were on his ass, and he needed these spares today. He said it like I was the one causing trouble. I picture my boss rolling his eyes at me for slowing a job down. I hated that I cared more about my hours than my gut, but I did. I took the list. Back at the shop, I clamped blanks and let the cutter bite. Clamp, cut, flip, repeat. The machine snapped at the end of each pass, and the smell of hot metal stuck in my nose. I tagged the ring, tested the teeth against a sample lock, and wrote the entry clean in my log. Complex name, keyway, quantity time. My boss glanced once and grunted approval, like that settled it. No one asked who the keys were for. No one asked why the request looked like it came off a napkin. When I returned, Gary didn't count the keys. He slid the ring toward his desk drawer like it was nothing. He asked if I wanted coffee, then told me I looked pale. His eyes flicked past me toward the hallway, like he was tracking movement more than talking to me. I mumbled something and turned to leave. On my way out, I saw his desk drawer half open. A ring of keys sat inside, tagged with women's first names, not apartment numbers. Not 101B. Names. Like pets. I shut the drawer, then I opened it again because my brain wouldn't let it go. Under the ring was a notebook. Dates, shift times, gym, shower, out with friends, written like he tracked livestock. There were also little baggies, hair clips, a single earring, a lipstick cap, trophies that smelled like somebody else's bathroom. My stomach dropped so hard I felt in my throat. I stood there with my hand on the drawer like I was the criminal, like I'd been caught stealing, and my brain kept saying, this is real. This is his. I heard a chair scrape somewhere deeper in the office suite and panic hit. I pulled my phone out like I was checking a text, angled my body between the drawer and the hallway, and tried to take a photo. My hands were sweating so bad the screen wouldn't register my thumb. I got one blurry shot, swore, wiped my thumb on my jeans, snapped again until I could read the words, then took a quick photo of the baggies. I shut the drawer soft, not a slam, because I didn't want noise. I forced my face back into something neutral and walked away like I hadn't just seen a guy's private trophy case. I walked into the hallway and saw him in the security office, watching the camera wall, smiling at nothing. The door was cracked, and the monitors lit his face in that cold blue. Laundry room feed, mail room, gym, stairwells, parking lot. He clicked between them like he was bored. When he noticed me, he didn't jump or act guilty. He just swiveled his chair a few inches, blocking the doorway without standing, and said I looked pale, asked if I was feeling okay. I tried to keep moving like normal. He followed me, close enough I could feel his breath on my neck, and told me to take it easy. It wasn't a threat in words. It was a reminder that he could get close whenever he wanted and call a concern. I got outside, got into my van, locked it, and sat there shaking with my phone in my lap. I zoomed into the photos until the writing sharpened. Dates lined up like a schedule. Shower was on there like it mattered. I kept thinking about those name tags clacking on his key ring while he walked the halls. Keys don't look like violence, but they are. They're permission you can fake. I didn't know who to tell. If I told my boss first, he'd worry about the account and try to smooth it over. If I went straight to police, I was the apprentice who snooped and made accusations. If I did nothing, I was helping him. So I drove back to the shop and tried to work like my head wasn't on fire. That afternoon, 2 cops showed up at our shop. Not for him, for me. Gary had called first and told him I'd been making illegal copies, that I'd been acting weird around tenants. My boss freaked out, tore into me, and handed them my work log like it was proof I didn't deserve to be there. My name was on those key cuts. My fingerprints were on the blanks. One cop asked if I understood the seriousness of unauthorized duplication. The other asked how many times I'd been to the complex. My boss stood behind them with his arms crossed like he was watching me drown and deciding if I deserved it. I tried to explain fast. I said Gary gave me the list. I said I asked for official paperwork and he brushed me off. My boss snapped loud, "So you just did it anyway?" And I snapped back because I couldn't swallow it anymore. I said he tells me every day to stop asking questions and just cut. He went red and called me a liability, said I was going to get the shop sued, said he should have never taken me on. The cop asked if I made extras. That question landed exactly where Gary aimed it. My mouth went dry. I said no. The cop asked if I'd been inside any units. I said no. He asked if I knew any tenants. I said no. My boss kept muttering Jesus Christ like I was the problem, not the guy with a drawer full of women's names. I pulled my phone out and my hand shook so bad I almost dropped it. I said they needed to look at something before they kept treating me like a criminal. My boss hissed, "Don't bring drama into my shop," but I ignored him and showed the photos. The first cop leaned in and his expression changed when he saw keys tagged with first names. The second cop stopped writing and stared at the notebook page. The shop went quiet in that sharp, ugly way where you can hear the fluorescent lights. They asked where I took the pictures. I told them. They asked why I was in his drawer. I said it was open. I saw names. I couldn't unsee it. My boss tried to pivot, suddenly calm, suddenly talking about handling it properly, like he wasn't just ready to throw me under a bus. I wanted to fucking scream. The cops took my statement, told me to email the originals to a detective, and warned me not to contact anyone at the complex. Then they left and my boss turned on me again, quieter, telling me I just put the shop at risk, that if this blew back on him, he'd lose his license, like that was the only thing that mattered. I still reported it. I still sent the photo. I went to the station after my shift, filled out forms, repeated the story until my throat hurt. A detective called me back, asked for the originals, asked if I could identify the office layout, asked if anyone else might have seen the drawer. I answered everything. Then the silence started. No abuts, no reassurance. Just days where every unknown number made my pulse jump. Because I kept waiting for Gary to decide I was a problem to solve. At the shop, my boss punished me in small ways. He cut my hours. He stuck me on garbage calls. He made comments about trust in front of the other techs. We argued more than once. I told him the second we cut a key for somebody, we're involved whether we like it or not. He told me locksmiths aren't cops. I told him we still hand people access to homes and bedrooms. He told me to stop being dramatic. I told him people get hurt because everyone wants to pretend it's not their problem. A week later, I heard through a vendor that Gary was no longer with the property. That was it. No tenant notice. No warning. No big announcement. They swapped him out like a broken appliance. The complex kept calling for key work like nothing happened. No lock re-keys right away. No apology to anyone. Just quiet like quiet fixed it. I started replaying the moment I took that scribbled list from him. The second I chose my hours over my gut. I can tell myself I didn't know, but I knew something was off and I still made it easy because that's what the job trains you to do. Cut the key. Close the ticket. Move on. Don't ask. Don't slow down. Don't make a scene. The complex replaced him quietly. No news story. No apology. And I'm the one who can't sleep because I can still feel the snap of those key machines, and I know exactly how easy I made it for him. I was a temp in a community college admissions office, broke as hell, doing late-night data entry for extra hours, and my plan that Friday was to finish a stack of residency forms, grab cheap takeout, and crash before my Saturday shift. I sat alone, clicking through forms, typing addresses, scanning IDs, feeding the same fields into the same boxes, trying not to think about the calls we'd gotten all week. People didn't call to ask questions. They called to threaten whoever picked up, and since I was the only warm body in the office after hours, I got it full force. My supervisor's advice was always the same. Don't engage, forward it, keep your head down. Easy for her. She left at 5. Around midnight, I got pissed and tired, and I posted one stupid rant on a local forum about how we kept getting threatened calls over rejected applications. No names, no campus, nothing. I hit send, went right back to work, and forgot about it. An hour later, a DM hit me with my full legal name spelled right, my old apartment number, and a photo of my car from behind. My cracked taillight was in it. The timestamp said 20 minutes ago. I stared at my phone until my eyes burned, then I looked out at the lot. My car sat under a light. Nobody stood near it. That nobody didn't call me. It told me the person already came and went like they checked a box. I deleted the post. It didn't matter. They already screenshotted it and started correcting the story with my face on it. I refreshed the thread and watched it turn into a pile-on. My rant quoted back at me. My LinkedIn photo pasted next to it. My name bolded like a label. Someone wrote that I personally rejected them and laughed about it. Another account posted a cropped pic of my car and bragged about seeing employees after dark. People started guessing where I worked. Someone dropped my old building address like it was funny. I reported it, messaged mods, begged the site to take it down. I got an auto reply and nothing else. Then my phone started ringing with numbers that didn't make sense. Blank caller IDs, too many digits. My own number calling me. I declined one and another hit before my thumb lifted. Voicemail stacked up. One was just breathing. One said my name once, slow, like they were tasting it. Another played a clip of someone sobbing and then cut off. I stood in that office with my stomach tight, still trying to type like a normal human being while my phone acted like a weapon. It didn't stay on my phone. My mom texted me that her landline wouldn't stop ringing and a hospital kept asking for me. I called her and she talked over me, panicking, asking what I'd done, asking if I was in trouble. I told her to unplug the phone. She argued because what if it's real, and I snapped because I didn't have anything left. We fought for a full minute, both of us too loud, and I hated myself the whole time. She finally yanked the cord and I heard her breathing hard on the other end. Hearing her scared because of my stupid post made me feel filthy. By morning, my work email was flooded with fake complaints from brand new accounts. Same writing, same little errors, different names. This employee hates students. She threatened me. She's discriminating. My supervisor dragged me into her office and asked what I posted. I told her it was vague. I told her someone had my mom's number. She barely reacted to that part. She reacted to the word posted. She said HR would want a statement, like I'd spilled coffee on a keyboard. I argued because she was acting like I brought this on campus on purpose. She told me to calm down and think about professionalism. I walked out shaking and went back to my desk like a robot because temp jobs don't come with dignity. I tried fixing it like it was just security. I changed passwords, turned on two-factor, checked recovery settings. That's when I saw my recovery email had been changed a week before. Before I posted, I checked my login history and saw locations that weren't mine. I found forwarding rules in my email I never set. I found recently deleted messages I never deleted. Someone had been sitting in my accounts, reading, copying, waiting. The forum post didn't summon them. It just gave them a stage. That night, the delivery started. Pizzas I didn't order. Drivers buzzing the building, calling me, pounding my door for cash. One guy shouted that I was wasting his time. I yelled back that I didn't order anything and he could take it up with whoever the fuck did. He kept knocking anyway, harder, like he could knock money out of the door. My neighbor across the hall cracked his door and stared at me like I was trash. Next came COD flowers. I ignored the intercom until my landlord texted me to stop the nonsense. I called him and told him I was being harassed. He said, "Flat, then call the police," and hung up. Like I hadn't already. A plain box showed up after that. Inside were used shoes that smelled like piss and old sweat. I didn't touch them barehanded. I shoved the whole thing into a trash bag and hauled it outside. When I came back, there was another DM. Fast cleanup. No photo. No proof. Just the sentence. I stood in my kitchen with the lights on and realized I'd started moving like someone was timing me. The worst part was the envelope that showed up at the front desk at work with my name written neatly on it. My coworker handed it to me like normal mail. Inside were printed screenshots of my private social media, not public posts, DMs, archived photos, a screenshot of my contacts list with my mom circled, a selfie from my kitchen I'd never uploaded. They circled the window in the background and wrote "cute place." They circled a message where I joked about being broke and wrote "still broke." Someone had been inside my accounts like it was their hobby. I took the papers to campus IT, shaking, and the guy barely looked at them. He asked if I clicked weird links. I told him no. He shrugged and told me to change my passwords again. I told him someone was already in there. He said they can't do much if it's personal accounts, then handed me a pamphlet like that solved anything. I left there furious because the college could lock down its servers, but couldn't spare a minute for the person getting chewed up. By day 3, I stopped sleeping. Every buzz made me jump. Every hallway sound made my chest tighten. I kept my keys in my hand, even in my own apartment. I started checking the peephole before I even went to the bathroom, like the bathroom mattered. I changed my phone number, and the carrier rep treated me like I was exaggerating. 2 days after the change, I got a text with my new number typed back at me. Nothing else. Like a little trophy. At 2:17 a.m., my upstairs neighbor slammed on my door and screamed that cops had guns out front. I thought he was drunk until I saw blue light flash through the stairwell window and heard a loudspeaker outside. My body moved before my brain. I stepped into the hall barefoot and raised my hands. Officers came up the stairs with rifles up, yelling at me to show my hands, to back away, to turn slowly. My ID shook so bad I couldn't hold it steady. One cop kept asking where the hostage was. I kept saying I was alone. Someone called in a hostage situation at my address. They marched me down the stairs backward, hands high, while my neighbor hid behind his door. They pinned me outside under bright lights and fired questions I couldn't answer. Who's inside? Where's the weapon? Why are you doing this? I kept saying I was alone until my voice cracked. They cleared my place hard, doors slamming, drawers banging, my whole life getting handled by strangers with guns. When they finally admitted it was bullshit, nobody apologized. They just looked tired. One cop looked at me like I was an inconvenience and told me to stay off the internet, like I was the asshole here, like I'd ordered the SWAT team along with the pizzas. I tried to explain about the hacked accounts and my mom's phone. He nodded like he was listening and then told me to file a report online. Online. I stood there in the cold and felt my brain go blank, like it couldn't hold the stupidity of that sentence. The next morning I went to work anyway because I didn't know what else to do. My supervisor pulled me into a room with HR waiting. They asked if I had personal conflicts that could impact campus safety. I told them I was being targeted. They asked what I did to provoke it, like I'd invited this. I started arguing because I couldn't take the blame coming out of people who love the word policy. HR kept saying they had to protect the institution. My supervisor kept saying, "This can't follow us." I said it already did. It showed up with guns. They stared at me like I was the problem in the room, not the person doing the harassment. I quit the next day. I emailed that I was done and dropped my badge at the desk. HR replied with a cold paragraph about returning property and wishing me well, like I was resigning because of a schedule conflict. The security guard slid a tray toward me like I was evidence. I walked out feeling like I'd been fired by a ghost. I moved 3 weeks later and still get mail with my new address on it. Neat handwriting, no return label, like whoever didn't want me to know they can always find the next place.